Hi guys, Materim here with another battle report, and this time we've got Skaven versus the Empire at 2,000 points in a standard battle line game. Now this battle report is going to be a little unusual for me, as this is the first one that I've done that I was not a part of. We got the club together, and two of the clubmates did Skaven versus Empire, and I was going to end up playing the winner that night. And add to that, I was putting my daughter to bed during their setup, so the first 6, 7, 8 pictures, something like that, my wife took. So they're not sort of my usual picture style. I don't have an establishing shot of the board to go over the terrain, but I'm going to go ahead and try and muddle through it, see if I can provide some interesting commentary, even though I'm not playing the game, and hopefully it'll be an enjoyable battle report anyway. So let's go ahead and get into it with the Empire deployment. Now, I want to start off with saying that I love this list that our Empire player came up with. It's totally different from anything he's usually tried before, and a couple mistakes in it, but definitely unique and definitely a good solid start for something he can work on and make better. But that being said, we have starting on the left, the unit in the front there is a unit of 5 Pistoliers. Right behind them is the Halfling Hot Pot, which is standing in for a mortar. Next to them, we have a unit of 3 Demigryph Knights with full command. Right in front of that, we have a unit of 13 Handgunners with 2 detachments just behind them, one of 5 Spearmen and one of 6 Spearmen. Single character on the Pegasus back there is Balthazar Gelt, the special character. And then that big white unit that's just primed is a unit of, I believe it's 28 flagellates. And there's a warrior priest in there. Now, we remembered something like turn 4 that you can't actually put a warrior priest in there because they're unbreakable and you can't add non-unbreakable guys to the units. But at that point, it was too little too late to remember, so we just went with it. And on the other side of that big unit is the Hellblaster Volley Gun, which is actually a stand-in for a second mortar. In front of that is a unit of 17 archers with 2 detachments. One detachment on the left is 9 archers, and the detachment on the right is 7 handgunners. And then at the very end, we have a Knightly Order of Inner Circle Knights. There's going to be 6 of those guys, and they have the Banner of Swiftness on them. So definitely an interesting sort of pseudo gun line. You don't see the mortars come out, so I was really interested to see how this goes. Then on top of that, I've heard some crazy things about Balthazar Gelt as a special character, and I haven't had a chance to see him yet, so I was pretty excited to watch this go down. Okay, and on the Skaven side, from left to right, we've got the Doom Wheel. There's a unit of 20 Skaven slaves. The next unit is a unit of 6 Rat Ogres with 4 Packmasters. Then there is a big old unit of Storm Vermin, a total of 40 of them, pushing the Screaming Bell with the Grey Seer on it. And he put the Earthing Rod on there, on the Skaven, or the Grey Seer, help protect against miscasts. And there is a little the poison mortar, poison wind mortar, I think is what it's called. That's the weapon team there. Again, this particular Skaven player almost never plays with the mortars, so it's kind of interesting to see him bringing out something that he hasn't used before in what's sure to prove a very unconventional fight for these two players. And then we have a unit of 40 clan rats with a warp fire thrower there. Behind that is the warp lightning cannon. And then next to that is a unit of 6 poison wind globadiers with a second poison wind mortar attached to them. So it's pretty much all the Skaven's got. Again, he is using a lot of mortars, which is unusual. I think this is the first time I've ever seen him use the globadiers. So really wasn't sure what to expect, particularly against this kind of strange Empire list. So let's go ahead and get on to it with Empire stealing the first turn. Alright, so you see here, the Empire is not going to do much movement on turn 1. The Pistoliers had Vanguarded up. I don't even think that's a full Vanguard movement, but they didn't move any more than that. And Balthazar Gelt basically ran from the center of the army and over to the side here. Now, I didn't talk too much about the Empire characters. Balthazar Gelt is obviously, he counts as a level 6 caster of the Lore of Metal. And then he's got the Battle Priest. Now, the one thing that I didn't realize for several turns is that the Empire player has not brought a BSB to this fight. Very unusual. Something, I told him he's a braver man than I am. So we'll definitely have to see how that works out. But I think he's hoping between the gun line and shooting him up and Balthazar's crazy spell casting that he'll be able to not have to get into too much close combat. And won't have to worry quite as much about the break tests and what have you. So we'll see how that works. And so we open up with Magic Phase. Balthazar tries Final Transmutation on the Clan Rats, which is the unit that holds the Skaven BSB, and he either failed to cast or it was dispelled. I'm not entirely sure. And then the first of the 2 Empire mortars hit the side of the Storm Vermin, did a few wounds, nothing huge though. And the remainder of the shooting on this side of the field, the handgunners and whatnot, took another 5, or rather the first 5 Clan Rats off of that big bus. And start of Skaven turn 1 pretty much has everybody come forward. The Doom Wheel didn't roll great, so actually starts to fall behind his lines a little bit. But the Rat Ogres and the Slaves on the right flank move up. Now, the big problem with this that's going to come up is that pyramid that you see all the way on the right is actually a Banestone. So those Rat Ogres are going to have +1 to wound them pretty much for the whole time they're trying to cross over that central area, which the Empire player, I'm sure, was absolutely thrilled with. And then on the left flank, you just see the Storm Vermin push the Screaming Bell forward, and the Clan Rats go ahead and get behind the Blazing Barricade there, hopefully just to get the +1 bonus, or the -1 penalty, rather, for the handgunners to continue shooting them until he's ready to pour over it and go bring some pain to the Empire. And here you see the Globadiers run straight for the Pistoliers, hoping to get into a chaff fight, I guess. And during Magic Phase, the Skaven start off by ringing the bell and gets the result that makes him surge forward with the bell unit. I think he went 3 inches. And during shooting, the Poison Wind Mortar starts off hot and knocks off, I think that's 4 or 5 of those archers off of that center unit, but they hold. And the second Poison Wind Mortar misfired and blew itself up with a template. Luckily, though, it wasn't close enough to the Clan Rats to catch any of them, so really all he's out is a mortar at this point. And the Globadiers thin down 1 of the Pistoliers. And in typical Skaven fashion, the Warp Lightning Cannon misfires and spins that way and sends a strength 10 hit down the line, but there's nothing in his backfield at this point, so pretty much just a wasted turn with that. Okay, so moving on to Empire turn 2, we still don't have any charges. Empire player just moves his Inner Circle Knights up a little bit. I'm guessing to protect that flank from those Rat Ogres and Slaves that are coming, not to mention the Doom Wheel. But still playing it very gunline, very defensive. I think he's hoping to get some more shooting and thin down as many of these units as he can. And in the center here, you see he moves up that detachment of spearmen up in front of his handgunners. I think the intent was to either charge block, redirect, something like that. But he just moved them up straight, which really isn't going to help because the unit with the bell in it there has just enough space to still do their wheel and get past them. So Empire spent their magic phase buffing up the shooting, the BS shooting with I think it's the Blades of Alban, and then we go straight into shooting. The first mortar ends up catching the very front of the Rat Ogre unit and puts 2 wounds on a single Rat Ogre. The second mortar gets a direct hit on the Screaming Bell. Doesn't do any damage to the bell, but kills 6 of the Storm Vermin. And shooting from the handgunners takes another 4 Storm Vermin off that unit. And then to add insult to injury, the little 6-man archer detachment manages to plink 1 more off that unit as well. And shooting from the handgunners on this side manages to kill the Rat Ogre that had 2 wounds on him from the mortar. So start of Skaven 2, the Bell unit charges into the handgunners. They succeed their charge, but they do get brought down to what is ultimately half strength from their starting numbers by the stand and shoot option there. And that's when the Empire player realizes that his attempt at a clever blocking move just doesn't work because the Skaven can wheel right past it. And for the rest of the movement, the Poison Wind Globadiers run over here to the side next to the Pistoliers, hoping to take them out now that they're within half range. And the Clan Rats come out from behind the wall to set up for a charge for next turn against that little 5-man Spearman unit. And you see here, the Doom Wheel didn't come up too far. The slaves basically came up to get in the way of those knights. And the Rat Ogres didn't move up very far because that water square next to the Banestone there is a Weirding Well, so he's going to try and drink from it and get his Rat Ogre back that the handgunners killed. And biggest news in the Skaven magic phase is that he managed to get Wither off on the Demigryphs. He realizes that he's going to blow through these handgunners and the Demigryphs are going to be right there to countercharge, so he's getting started a little early, weakening those guys down. And then the dreaded 13th goes off irresistible on the Flagellates and destroys half the unit. Pretty much, and I talked to the Skaven player after the game, this was pretty much the point that they stopped mattering, because you really need a bunch of Flagellates for them to be any good, and that pretty much took out his only good close combat block, so this is definitely a point where the Skaven are starting to get a lot of momentum. And the Miscast does a single wound to the Warplock Engineer in the other unit of Clan Rats behind him, and the Skaven, or the Grey Seer, ends up ward saving the wound that he would have taken. So, not too much for what was a major spell to go off. And then the Skaven player rings the bell and gets the result where he's going to do damage to every unit within 24. So definitely not a good magic phase for the Empire player. So that ended up killing 1 Pistolier, 1 of the handgunners that's currently in combat, 1 Flagellate, 2 Spearmen out of the detachment, 2 Archers out of the small detachment, 1 Archer out of the main unit there. And I don't think it actually killed any of the handgunners, and it couldn't reach the Knights at the other end. And then the Poison Wind Mortar tried to go for the Flagellates and drifted enough so that it landed a direct hit on the mortar and destroyed the Empire's mortar. And the Globadiers shot another one of the Pistoliers down, but he's managing to continue to make his panic checks, so they're just hanging around. And in close combat, the Bell unit obviously beats the handgunners and they break, but they stop like a quarter inch from the edge of the board and don't panic the Demigryphs, so that's good. However, both detachments panicked. The one in the foreground panicked and totally ran off the board. The one in the background panicked and started running, but only went a couple of inches, so no worries there. Unfortunately, where it ended up is right in front of the Flagellates, so it will end up blocking them to charge in next turn. And of course, the Bell unit overran. But as you can see, they did a very short overrun, and unfortunately, the demigryphs are going to be able to charge into them next turn. So, start of Empire turn 3. The Empire player charges his 2 Pistoliers into the side of the Clan Rats, I guess, kind of just for kicks, hoping they'll tie them up. Unfortunately, he didn't know that the BSB there had the banner of the Under Empire, so they're going to get devoured by rats in pretty short order. And you get to charge with the demigryphs into the unit with the bell. No big surprise, and basically everybody thinks that if the demigryphs aren't going to win, they're at least going to tie up that unit for the rest of the game, because that 1-up armor save is very difficult for Skaven to get around. His real hope, he's thinking at this point, is just to do some magic and get him off the board. And on the other flank, the Inner Circle Knights blast into the Clan Rats. I guess he's hoping he just break them and get away from that Doom Wheel. I'm not entirely sure. But went ahead and did that, so we'll see where that goes. And the handgunners and the small unit of spearmen that have 3 dudes left in it both successfully rally. So that was kind of impressive when you consider no BSB and the general only affecting one of them, because Balthazar's still hiding down here in the corner behind the tower we're using for Arcane Ruins. And during shooting, I guess I didn't show this earlier, the Rat Ogres did actually use the Weirding Well to get a single Rat Ogre back, so we're fully up-healed. And then the Archers and Handgunners lay into him again, taking out that Rat Ogre and one of the Packmasters this time. And as you can see, with the spell cards there, the magic phase from the Empire put a bunch of debuffs on the Bell unit. But even with that, they only killed 4, maybe 5 rats, and the demigryphs took 2 wounds for their trouble. Now, the Skaven lost, but they're unbreakable with the Bell there. But now they don't have enough slaves or the Storm Vermin to keep pushing the Bell, so even if the demigryphs break and go anywhere, that unit is stuck there for the rest of the game. And as I mentioned earlier, the Pistoliers get eaten by the banner of the Under Empire before combat really even starts. And the Knights pretty handily destroy the Skaven slaves. After they blow up, though, the Knights overrun and roll just terrible. So they end up with still having the Doom Wheel in their flank for the start of next turn. Alright, so start of Skaven 3, you have the big bus of Clan Rats charge into those poor, doomed spearmen, and set themselves up for a very nice pursuit or overrun, however it needs to go, right into the flagellates there. And the Rat Ogres finally decide to stop playing around in the pool and put these poor archers out of their misery. It's just too big of a block for those humans. They're going to get stomped bad. And the Doom Wheel comes right in the side of the Knights. Now, when this happened, we stumbled upon a rule thing that I think all of us agreed is kind of stupid. The Doom Wheel has terror. However, it also has random movement. According to the rules, as we understand them, and if anybody has a different understanding of this, please put something in the comments so we can tell the difference. Terror doesn't matter if you have random movement, because you cannot choose, you don't make a charge reaction, and all terror does is it forces you to make the flee charge reaction. So being that you can't do that, terror basically is useless on the Doom Wheel, which seemed kind of dumb, but that's how we played it. I know definitely the Skaven player was like, what the heck's the point then? And I frankly agree with him. Hopefully that'll be something that maybe they'll change next edition, or when the Skaven get the new book here. But regardless, the important part of that is that the Doom Wheel goes right into the side of those Knights, and they're ready to have a very, very bad day. So then the Globadiers go hoping to hunt down Balthazar Gelt. And the two remaining weapon teams in the back just move up a little bit so they can get a little bit better look at the action. So magic was pretty much a wash, so we went right into close combat. The Doom Wheel just demolishes the knights, overruns, and ends up right into the handgunners there. So not a huge surprise. And the Rat Ogres destroy the archers to a man, but since they're frenzy, they have to overrun and end up right at the board edge. And again, no surprise, the Clan Rat Bus destroys the three remaining archers and runs right into the flagellates. Now, the kind of funny thing about this is that one little 5-man of archers that's there, that's being represented by the Halfling Minis, has succeeded every panic check to avoid panicking while everything's breaking around it. So they're like the most awesome, badass halflings that the Empire's ever seen. And then here, the Skaven finally kill one of the Demigryphs, but the Demigryphs have killed down, I think there are only 2 of the Storm Vermin left at that point. And they've inflicted a single wound on the Grey Seer as well. Again, I think the Skaven lost this, but again, they're unbreakable, so they're not going anywhere. So Empire turn 4 starts with that little 5-man brick of halfling archers charging into the side of the Skaven clan rats there. And Balthazar flies away so he doesn't get shot up by any more Poison Wing Globadiers. And close combat has the Demigryph Knights finally kill the last of the Storm Vermin, but they're just unable to do anything to the Grey Seer or the Bell. I think the Skaven lose this one again, maybe, but ultimately it doesn't matter because they're unbreakable. Alright, so oh boy. So this just went off the rails from the beginning for the Empire, but it was a good fight for Skaven. So what ended up happening here is the Flagellates have this rule where they inflict D6 strength 3 hits on themselves, and for every guy that dies, the unit gets a bonus. So he starts off by inflicting 6 strength 3 hits on himself, and I think he killed all 6 of them. So he's got some good bonuses on it, but then the the Under Empire banner goes off, kills all but one of the archers, and only leaves the Prophet of Doom and the Battle Priest in the Flagellate unit. The archer is killed by a Skaven before they get to go, but the character and the champion end up killing 3 Skaven, but it's still bad. The archers are dead. The Empire player basically has nothing left, so at this point he concedes the game. And this is just an overview of what the board looks like at the end of the game. As you can see, the Doom Wheel was about to come in and just wreck anything that was left. The Rat Ogres would have been able to turn around and come in, because this is only bottom of turn 4. Or, actually, no, this is top of turn 4. So the game didn't go very long, and the Skaven are still in a very strong position. So, as you can see, Empire surrenders, victory for the Skaven. Fun game, definitely 2 unusual lists. A lot of mortars going off, and the mortars actually did surprisingly well for what they were. For a strength 2, they were wounding even the Rat Ogres. The Empire player definitely thinks he likes the idea of this sort of build, but his big thing, he said he needs to get rid of the Flagellates and put in some big brick, probably halberdiers or great swords is what he said. And I totally agree. The Skaven player doesn't, even though they did better for him, still doesn't like the Poison Wind Mortars. But he didn't do too bad. I didn't hear too many complaints. So what we ended up doing after this is Skaven won, so we let him pick his side of the board, and I played him on this same board, which is going to be my next battle report, which I'm hoping to have up today or tomorrow. So it was a fun game to watch. I hope I didn't butcher things too bad not being involved in the actual play. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like, comment, like, subscribe, and just let me know what you liked, what you didn't. And thanks for watching. Enjoy.